Well, I don't know, but, you just gave us that story about how Naveen inspired you. I think many people, women and men sitting in this room, the students sitting in this room, might walk away with their inspirational moment at the end of this conversation, Abhiraj. But I want to take, so. I certainly hope so. But I want to take you back to 2014. As you pointed out that, you passed out, you decided to go to BCG, IIM Ahmedabad, the detour, and then to BCG, and you had a comfortable, cushy life. The decision to actually start up in 2014, and you had the good fortune of meeting people that you enjoyed being with, and you continue to enjoy working with. What gave you the conviction that Urban Clap was what it used to be before it became Urban Company, that would work as a service in India?
So I see the decision to quit BCG was, even though I was having a lot of fun at the firm, I kind of knew pretty much throughout the 3 years that I spent at BCG that I would want to eventually start out on my own. And I had the good fortune of partnering with my IIT Kanpur batchmate Varun. And, throughout those 3 years, we were having our flirtations with entrepreneurship, weekend conversations, meeting entrepreneurs. Eventually, we gathered enough courage to take the plunge, and that's what it boils down to. All of us will give ourselves a lot of reasons as to why we're not doing it. We don't have the right idea, we don't have enough capital saved, we don't have enough, now is not the right time, etc., etc. We don't have enough experience. But at some point, you get to a point where you face the truth, and the truth is that you don't have enough courage. That's what I told myself, right? I said, at least let me stop lying to myself. The reality of why I am not starting out is because I have a nice job. I have a paycheck that hits the bank account. It is not about an idea, because today I work 14 hours a day for someone else. When I start thinking about ideas 14 hours a day and there's no paycheck that's going to hit the bank account at the end of the month, in 2 months the idea will come, right? So I think once I got to that point, things became easier. Decision making became clearer. We had a failed startup to start with. So Urban Clap back then was not our first idea. But in the meandering process after that first failed startup, where we were interacting with a lot of consumers, with a lot of service professionals, we just felt that, this gigantic space of home and local services, which is so unorganized, it's bound to get organized. It's bound to get disrupted by technology. It's bound to move online. I just couldn't see a world back in 2014 where, say, 10 years later or 15 years later, you were ordering your mobile phone online, your grocery online, your food online, but when it came to getting your plumbing service done or your cleaning service done, you were still going to the local guard and asking them for a sort of recommendation. So that was the genesis.
Well, and I have to say that it has today, I think it's the go-to option for just about everybody, at least in the large cities that we live in. But, I want to go back to something that you said. You said that this wasn't your first venture. You did have a failed startup. And I think it was Paulo Coelho who said that, making a mistake is fine. Repeating the same mistake is a choice. And I want to understand from you, what was the big lesson that you learned from that failed venture that you internalized that has now given you the sort of courage to take Urban Company forward? And what did you change about the way that you then went on to build Urban Company on the back of that lesson learned?
I'd say 2 lessons. One is that failure is a possibility. And up until then, while I had seen small failures in life, I hadn't seen failure to that degree. So just the reality of how competitive and brutal the marketplace can be, and the fact that you have a fancy degree and you have fancy work experience, really, the consumer doesn't care. The consumer cares whether you've created something of value to them or not. So I think it was a good reality check. But the second more important point is, failure should not be feared. There has to be, even in entrepreneurship, which has so much seeped in optimism, there has to be an objectivity around looking at a situation for what it is and saying, okay, we've tried, this isn't working. Do we have the ability to step back and try something else? And we failed multiple times along the way at Urban Company as well. But, it doesn't matter, because you try and take 10 shots at the goal and 8 won't go in. But the 2 that do more than make up for everything else. So it's something I tell my team as well, that if we're succeeding more often than we're failing, in all likelihood, our bets are very deterministic and not very probabilistic. And deterministic bets will only take us that far.